So here's something that is probably going to frustrate a lot of people, including the people in this group, but it seems to frustrate a lot of people in general. And it's this idea that food has to taste a certain kind of way. So people are very, very concerned that their food has got to be perfect tasting. Like, it's got to be the most delicious thing that they've ever eaten. It's got to be just, oh my God, I love this chocolate. If it's not like that, they freak out and they're very upset. So even something like their protein powder is like, man, this protein powder had better be good, because if I taste, if it's like a bland protein, or it's a bland vanilla or something like that, people become so angry, they become so upset. And they complain and they want to bring it back like, oh, but I thought this chocolate was going to be delicious. It's chocolate protein powder, man. Get over it. I tend to think that this idea that we're obsessed with food and how good it tastes, and that it's got to be absolutely perfect, that our food has to be something that satiates this deep craving that we have for pleasure, is one of the big problems we have when people overeat and everything. It might have served us well, like when we were out living in the plains. It might have served us well when food was incredibly hard to come by, and we could tell, like, oh, things that taste good tend to be the things that are going to give us the most calories, right? So that's how we develop these things. It's an evolutionary strategy, and that's great. Except that now it turns out to be not so beneficial, because those things that are going to give us the most bang for our buck and everything, the things that taste really, really good, that's not the kind of things that we want. Rather, those are the kinds of things that are going to cause us problems. So rather than looking for those, it would seem like we do with everything else, when we kind of tend to understand these things and we've got some sort of control over it, that rather than just looking for those kind of things, maybe what we should be doing is focusing on things like nutritional content and the function that food serves in general. And rather than someone like having like channels, multiple channels dedicated to nothing but food, and Gordon Ramsay himself having like 7 or 8 TV shows where all he does, I don't know how many shows the guy has, but shows that do nothing but talk about food and food and food, and that's all we care about, and consume, and we're just obsessed. And this includes people that work out. You're like, hey, oh yeah, I want to eat healthy, I want to eat the right kind of food, but if it doesn't taste good, then I can't eat it. And people become very upset, they become very angry. And if you point out like, hey, maybe the taste just isn't that important, maybe rather than focusing on trying to get it to taste like some delicious concoction, maybe we should just worry, maybe we should try to change our focus. They become very upset, they become angry, like, no, my chocolate should taste amazing. I don't really understand this. I'm going to be honest, I don't really get it. I don't get it. We know why. We have an understanding of why the things that taste so good, why we were attracted to that. We understand what was going on in terms of an evolutionary strategy. We have an idea of how this works. Having an idea of how that works, and seeing that it just doesn't benefit us now. Seeing that what we've done, because we have so much more food, that we're not living in this state of deficit, that rather we have this abundance around us, rather we have all this food that's available to us, and we now also have some understanding of how these things work. It would seem as though, like everything else, that what we would be attempting to do would be to take some sort of control over that and utilize that control so that we can benefit ourselves. And rather than focusing mainly and exclusively, almost entirely, just on how food tastes, and desperately trying to make healthy food, right, the kind of foods that would be good, desperately trying to make them mimic foods that aren't good for us, that don't benefit us, that don't meet our goals, that aren't the kind of things that they're not pragmatic, they're not practical for us. Rather than doing that, maybe what we should do is try to attempt to change our taste in the same way that we can look around and say, like, you know what, while there might have been some, I don't have any idea, but there might have been some benefit to a less egalitarian structure, right, because we're sort of driven in that, while it might have been in the past and everything we were coming about, this differentiation of labor, right, between the sexes, and it turns out because of that men, because they were bigger and stronger, and you had this division of labor between the sexes, that women, because they were weaker and did these other jobs, that might have been beneficial to our species. But now that we're not living in the wild, now that we're not worried about predators, now that we're not having to go dig up tubers to eat, it doesn't benefit us so much, and we can become more concerned about equality and a more egalitarian way of living. In the same way that we're worried about that, in the same way that we're like, maybe it's not such a great idea for men to be able to beat their wives and treat them as property, and maybe it's not such a good idea for us to kill kids that are deformed, merely because it turns out they're going to be a problem for us to take care of. In that exact same kind of way, maybe we shouldn't be focused so much on how food tastes. Maybe we shouldn't be limited by that kind of primitive drive and everything. We can understand how it came about, and we can understand how this served as a strategy. But it's time to move forward, guys. It's time to move forward and do something different. Get over it. Who cares how your food tastes? If it serves your function and it doesn't make you vomit and it's the content you can get down, deal with it. Get over it.